Hi everyone, Jai Hind and welcome to the platform of StudyIQ IAS in English. My name is Bhavar Singh Surayam, ex-NDA 115th course and qualified Civil Services or IAS in 2012. And I welcome you on the platform of StudyIQ. Now in this video, we'll be talking about the massive overhaul of the India's anti-money laundering network or the framework, that is Enforcement Directorate. Recently, you must have heard that there had been the recent raids in Kerala on the premises of the ex-Chief Minister, Mr. Vijayan. And this video actually, or this session, it's not about the raid that was conducted recently, but it is about the complete massive overhaul, the restructuring of the Enforcement Directorate, as well as the 60% of the manpower boost that will be there for the ED or Enforcement Directorate that is there in India. Now, when it comes to the statutory framework, there is the PMLA or the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, that is the basis of the Enforcement Directorate to prevent the money laundering in India. Along with this, there are two more statutes, that is, we have FEMA, that is Foreign Exchange Management Act, and also the FEOA or the Fugitive Economic Offenders Act that is there, which are under the purview of the Enforcement Directorate. At the same time, this boost in the manpower is also necessary because of the increasing the crypto crimes as well as the cyber crimes which are happening in India. Now, when it comes to the money laundering, so actually what is money laundering? Money laundering is where there is the converting the complete dirty money that is there, which is funded from the criminal activity, into the white money or the clean money that appears to be legitimate, and this erodes the economic stability as well as the funding security. It funds the security threats as well. Now, over here, what happens is that there is a placement where there is introduction of the illicit cash into the financial system of the country. Then there is layering, where there is the use of complex transactions so that it will obscure the origin of that money. And then there is integration, where the funds are reintroduced as apparently legitimate assets, and that is what money laundering actually is. So this laundering actually, it distorts the asset prices in India or in the country. At the same time, it funds terror as well and starves the public infrastructure that we have of the tax revenue. Now here it is very important that when it comes to the restructuring or the mega overhaul that we are talking about, so this has been after the 15 years that this overhaul is being done for the Enforcement Directorate, and Ministry of Finance have approved the first cadre restructuring since 2011. The surge in the economic offences, multi-jurisdictional investigations, and even the dark web and crypto crimes are the major reasons behind this massive overhaul of the Enforcement Directorate. And the number of the posts, they will increase from the currently we have 2,029 posts in the Enforcement Directorate. They will increase to 3,256 posts. That is the net addition of the total 1,227 personnel, or it is 60% increase in the post structures that are there. So over here, you can see that the expansion, it will be there in the executive investigation cadre, where the number of posts right now, they are 1,229. They will increase to 2,288. Where the increase will be for the deputy directors, which will be now 267 instead of 148. The increase will be for the assistant directors, which will be 531 instead of 255, and the assistant enforcement officers as well. The number of the posts had been increased to 803 instead of 425. The legal and prosecution wing, earlier it was minimal. Now it had been expanded 7 to 36 times. As well as the adjudication wing, there was just one special director, where there will be entirely new tier that will be introduced for the adjudication wings. So the total strength of the Enforcement Directorate earlier, it was, as per 2011, 2,029 strength that was there. Now it will be overhauled to 3,226. So this is net addition of 1,227 posts in ED. That is single largest expansion that you will see in the Enforcement Directorate history as well. Now, when it comes to the verticals of the Enforcement Directorate, so these are the three important verticals that had been reformed. All right, so over here we have the hunters, that is the executive cadre of the Enforcement Directorate. So they are responsible for the field raids as well as digital intelligence, and also for the asset seizure operations and physical and the cyber surveillance as well. That will be reformed after this complete restructuring. Also, there is the prosecutors or the legal cadre that is there. The additional directors have been increased from 1 to 7, and the assistant legal advisors, they have been doubled to 36. At the same time, it aims to boosting the conviction rates for the crimes which are filed, or the ECIR which are filed by the Enforcement Directorate. And then we have the arbitrators, that is the adjudication wing. This will be entirely new operational tier that we will see in the adjudication wing, and where there will be quick rulings on the attachments, and even that will reduce the judicial bottlenecks that are there. And these are where the complete reformation of the Enforcement Directorate, it will take place. So over here, it is the caseload that have increased, and you can see over here that the raids in financial year 2025-26, there were total 2,892, and they were up from 1,491. That is, they had nearly doubled on the year-on-year basis. And when it comes to the ECIRs, they are different from the FIRs, and the total ECIRs that had been registered, the total were 1,080. That is, there is 39% increase in the single fiscal year that we are seeing right now. At the same time, you can compare on the decade by decade basis. So the asset attachment explosion from 2005 to 2014, that was the first decade, the total cumulative assets that were attached were to the tune of 5,171 crore rupees. But when it comes to the second decade, so between 2014 to 2024, the total amount of the asset that were attached, it is 1,19,386 crore rupees. So there is a wide surge when it comes to the assets attachment as well. And in single year, in 2025-26, you can see that there had been unprecedented 81,422 crore rupees of the assets that were attached by the ED or the Enforcement Directorate. At the same time, there are the new problems which are emerging in front of India, or the fiscal regime that we are seeing right now. And right now, there is the new age of the digital crime, where we have the AI-powered fraud which are there. Now, the deep fake corporate approvals could be there, as well as automated phishing, the stock algorithm manipulation that may lead to, again, money laundering. There is also crypto and Web3 that will we have the decentralized mixers, like for example Tornado Cash and privacy tokens that bypasses the SWIFT systems that are there. Also, there is ransomware syndicates, where we have multinational networks that demands the anonymous payouts, and they are the direct threat to the internal security, and that is why this massive overhaul had been necessity. Now, when it comes to the statutory triad of the Enforcement Directorate, so I have told you that there are three of the statutes which had the backing of, or the ED or the Enforcement Directorate. It actually works for these three of the statutes which are there. Now, when it comes to Enforcement Directorate, it directly reports, or it is under the Department of Revenue. Please remember for your prelims as well that it is under the Department of Revenue, Ministry of Finance, Government of India. It is not under Ministry of Home Affairs. Please remember, this is where the students and the aspirants, they get confused. All right. Now, when it comes to the three architecture or the architectural statutes which are there, the first one is the PMLA, or the Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002. Now, this is a criminal act, and ultimately any kind of the money laundering gets prosecuted under the PMLA Act of 2002, and this is where there is seizure, arrest, even prosecution for the money laundering activities. Then the next act that is there, it is the FEMA Act, or the Foreign Exchange Management Act of 1999. It is a civil act which actually deals with the foreign exchange, and it is the civil law where trade, exchange, and even the foreign exchange violations, they are prosecuted. Then we have the another act as well, that is FEOA, that was enacted in 2018. Now, this is about the fugitives of the Economic Offences Act that was there in 2018, that was passed, and basically this is where we have the economic fugitives which have committed the economic frauds, and then there is the seizure, that is without the prior conviction, that takes place against or in the FEOA Act of 2018. These are all the acts which have the the ED or the Enforcement Directorate is responsible for. Now, when it comes to the legal backbone, it is the PMLA, or the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. And here you can see that the section 13, it provides for the definition, and the definition is that any connection, direct or indirect, to the proceeds of crime, that is concealment or possession or acquisition, that is the money laundering, or it is covered under the PMLA Act of that was passed by the Parliament. Now, Section 45 is where we have the twin bail conditions that the prosecutor must oppose and the court must find the accused not guilty on reasonable grounds before granting the bail. So, there are two grounds or the twin conditions for the granting of the bail. And also there is Section 24, very important, where there is the reverse burden of the proof, where it is the accused must prove that the proceeds are untainted and not the prosecution. Now, this is reversed burden of the proof that you will see, because when it comes to the Indian judicial system, so Indian judicial system, it says that you are innocent until proven guilty. Alright, that is the burden of proof. It lies with the state. But when it comes to the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, over here, the burden of the proof, it is not with the state, but with the person against whom the case had been filed. He has to prove that the money that he has, that the proceeds that he has, they are untainted and they have been, gathered without any dirty activities which had been there. Now, over here, it is very important when it comes to the landmark judgment of the Supreme Court. It was Vijay Madan Lal Chaudhary versus Union of India in 2022, where the Supreme Court have upheld the constitutional validity of the stringent Prevention of Money Laundering Act provisions. At the same time, Supreme Court have also led that the ECIR that is filed for the economic offences, it is not equivalent to FIR or the first information report. And here, Supreme Court have said that ECIR, it need not to be supplied to the accused and the grounds of the arrest at the arrest stage that suffice at the maximum. Then over here, it is very important that this also deals with the tension that we have in the Constitution, that is as per Article 20 and Clause 3. So there is right against the self-incrimination as compared to the state's interest in investigating the sovereign economic threats. And there is the ongoing debate about the Prevention of the Money Laundering Act and the Article 20 Clause 3, where there is the tension that is inherent in our constitutional ethics and ethos as well. Now, when it comes to the federal equation, there is also the tension that we have seen in the past related to the activities of Enforcement Directorate. Whether it is the Enforcement Directorate that have raided in the West Bengal, or right now also we are seeing in the Kerala as well. So the core over here is that there are the scheduled offences. Now, the scheduled offences or the predicate crimes, they fall under the state list or the list 2 that is given under the Schedule 7 of the Constitution. Now, the ED over here independently investigate the financial proceeds under the central jurisdiction. So that is the inherent tension that is there between states and the ED or the Enforcement Directorate. And that is the reason that states, they frequently allege that there had been political misuse of the central enforcement to override the local police autonomy that is there. Now, what could be the way forward where this tension could be done away with? So it is very important that there should be a formal intelligence sharing protocols or the portals that should be between the center and the states, and a cooperative federalism mechanism should be laid down instead of the political confrontation when it comes to the federal equation. So the scheduled offences, they are investigated by the state police, that is under the list 2. But there has to be integration and resolution where the investigation under the Enforcement Directorate that could be done in or the intelligence sharing could be done between the center and the states as well. And there could be a portal that could be established. Now, there is a global alliance as well, that is FATF. And over here, the FATF is actually, it is the global intergovernmental watchdog which counters the money laundering and terror financing and proliferation financing as well. India is the full member of FATF, and the ED's structural capacity, it directly impacts the India's rating in the periodic mutual evaluations that is done by the FATF. Over here, the addition of more than 1,200 personals in the ED, it will be a concrete signal of the compliance commitment towards the FATF guidelines, and ultimately that will keep firmly India into the FATF whitelist. Now, this is again important when it comes to the investment in India. So investors, they see that the regime of any country, how it is, compatible to the FATF guidelines. Over here, when it comes to the high FATF standing, so that will lead to the investors' confidence that will get boosted in India's economic scenario or the market, and ultimately the FDI, they will inflow into India. And that will lead to clean access to the international banking as well. And that is why this is again important when it comes to the FATF scenario as well. But at the same time, when it comes to the Enforcement Directorate, you can see that it is facing some of the structural challenges as well. There is low conviction rate where there had been thousands of raids. At the same time, the final convictions, they remain statistically low because of the prolonged court trials which are there. There is protracted judicial delays as well, where the cases, they spend more than decades in appeals, and the attached assets, they are frozen in the legal limbo. That is a problem for both the prosecutor as well as the accused as well. There is also selective enforcement perception, where frequent political allegations had been there that challenges the institutional dependence, and it had been said, or it had been alleged, that the Enforcement Directorate had been used by the centre to counter the opposition in these states as well. There has been also the technical and the skill deficit, where the recruitment should be on the, or that should be for the technical specialists, that is the blockchain analyst, the AI forensic experts, and even the forensic accountants, that should be within the standard civil services frameworks. And that again remains a challenge, because the civil servants, they are recruited through the centralized merit system based UPSC examination, which does not have such kind of technical specification when it comes to the recruitment rules in India. Now, at the same time, you can see that there had been second Administrative Reform Commission that have asked for reforming the economic crime units. The key recommendation was that there should be a clear blueprint for building the resilient, independent financial enforcement institution in India, and that was one of the key reform or the recommendation that was provided by second ARC. Now, there should be the specialization that should be over general or generalization. That is, we should have dedicated expert pools in the corporate law, in the cyber forensics, and the global tax structure when it comes to the Enforcement Directorate. As well as there should be a stable tenure for the agency heads, as well as the robust internal oversight mechanism. That is, there should be a complete insulation from the interference of the working of the Enforcement Directorate. There should be also dynamic real-time joint operations, that is where the Enforcement Directorate, it along with the CBI, along with the CBDT and DRI, they can move, and there should be an interagency task force that could be set up. And these are the certain recommendations that you can add if the question is asked about the functioning of the Enforcement Directorate. Now, it is again very important that when it comes to the Fugitive Economic Offences Act, or FEOA Act, that was passed in 2018, it is very important because we have seen that the challenge was that there were high-profile defaulters which flee aboard after siphoning thousands of crores from the PSU banks as well. Now, the strategy that was laid down was that ED invokes the FEO Act of the 2018, which attaches and confiscates the domestic assets without awaiting for the conviction. And the outcome that we have seen is that luxury properties and the corporate shares, they had been liquidated. And more than 18,000 crore rupees, they were returned to the victimized PSU banks that were there. Also, it is a lesson for the governance where the institutional capacity, it can recover the stolen public money, restoring the banking sector liquidity and stability as well. Now, over here, it is very important because UPSC generally tests on these lines. That is the power to attach the assets without the prior conviction. And again, this is where UPSC tests your complete knowledge or your understanding. Now, this is all, but at the same time, you can understand the complete, the thing that we have discussed through this mind map, where we are talking about the ED restructuring and overhaul, and there will be 60% staff that will increase, and ultimately the total post that will be there is 3,226, and there are the three core pillars: field reinforcement when it comes to the ED or Enforcement Directorate. The core mandate is that we have three of the acts: PMLA 2002, which is Criminal Act. We have the FEMA or FEMA Act of 1999, that is a Civil Act. And then we have the FEOA Act of 2018, that is a Act for the Fugitives. And these acts or the ED, it functions under the Ministry of Finance. There is systemic challenges which are there, where we have the low conviction rates as it comes to the ECIR and the raids which had been conducted by the ED, and also complex tech crime, federal friction, and it needs the technical and the expert skills that should be there. So that would be all in this video. Along with me, we have understood that why this overhaul is necessary and what it means for India in the longer term. At the same time, if you are preparing for the civil services for 2027 or 2028, you can join the GS Foundation P2I batches for 2027, 28 or even for 2029 as well, which are based on SMART model, where we are giving you the structured classes where you get the NCERT foundation, then you get the advanced foundation batches, and then later on you get prepared for your mains, prelims as well as for interview. You get the mentorship, 1:1 mentorship on the platform, as well as assessment. That is a dashboard which tells you your positive as well as the strength and the weaknesses, and there is revision and the tests as well. You can join the batches for the P2I batches which are there, and ultimately you can use the code that is BRS Live for the maximum discount on the platform of StudyIQ platform. Alright, so that would be all in today's session. Thank you very much guys for joining me over here on the platform of StudyIQ. I will see you in the next, but till then, take care of yourself. Also, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel if you have not subscribed yet, and also leave a comment if you have liked the video. So that would be all. Thank you. Jai Hind.